I'm Randy Domino. I run our BizDev alliances and our Microsoft practice at CrashPlan. I am definitely the dumbest of the three people that you'll be listening to today, so you're really going to want to listen to Carl and to Laura. So, Carl, introduce yourself, background.
Yeah. Hey, everybody. Great to be here. Carl Rautenstrauch. I've been with Microsoft, specifically in the Azure division, for 13 years now. Time has flown by. Yes, I joined when I was 22 years old. That's obvious by the amount of gray here, but pleasure to be with you all and look forward to chatting after.
And we're not just going to talk about technology and do a lot of demonstrations. We're also going to have a real live user case study experience. And that's Laura Fox from Indiana. Laura.
Real live user, Laura Fox, AVP of Enterprise Systems at Indiana University. I've worked there for 25 years. My division obviously has Microsoft in it, but all of the business and administrative systems that run the university.
And for those, anybody who might question the scale of EDUs, this is definitely one of the larger enterprises in the country. And we'll give background about how large and how intense Indiana's environment is, and the cost savings that they're generating as a result of CrashPlan and Microsoft. So a little back on who's CrashPlan, since a lot of you have identified you knew. We've got thousands of enterprise customers, been in business for years, a couple of logos up there. How we differentiate, lots of experience here at CrashPlan with folks in the industry for 10, 20, and embarrassing myself, 30 years. So the way I like to sum this up, because we have built a modern, new, lightweight SaaS solution, is imagine if you went back to high school or college, only knowing what you know now. That's what we had the opportunity to do at CrashPlan, to take advantage of all the knowledge and optimize everything with a better solution, more modern, than what you may be used to out there in the industry. So we had that fresh canvas. We built that modern, lightweight SaaS. And first off, we did not simply do what a lot of other vendors on the floor take advantage of. They take an on-prem product and shove it down the throat of a VM. That costs more. That gives you a bigger VM. That's the easy way out. But they pass those charges and those costs onto the customer. That's a key differentiator. We don't include any heavy databases. Another vendor or two in this room that knows what I'm talking about, we did not decide to put like SQL as part of our solution. Who gets charged? Who winds up eating those costs? You do as a customer. Cyber resiliency. Okay, introduce one person here, our CTO. Gentleman by the name of Anand Twalad, please stand up. And no, you don't have to stand in your chair so people will see you. Okay? So Anand's got some unique background. Aside from having hundreds of patents in this industry, after 20 years of data management, he ran the big ship at a little tiny cyber resiliency company for about 5 years. You may have heard of it. Anybody heard of McAfee? Well, some of that cyber resiliency philosophy is built into CrashPlan. So this is a lot more than just backup and recovery. All right. And while we exclusively use Azure Compute, and our preferred storage target is Azure, unlike just about every other vendor out there, especially the ones on the floor, we believe you should have freedom of storage choice. All right. Carl and company give us really good discounts we can pass on to you for Azure. But I should not be the one dictating to you, this is where your storage has to go. And that is a philosophy a lot of other vendors in our space have. Obviously, I'm going to hit on cost efficiency again and again. Included in our backup and our archive is e-discovery search. Example, we all have SharePoint. How many of your users know the names of the SharePoint IAs? Not many. But they know the content. They'll give you the keywords to search for, so we include e-discovery search as part of our basic solution. Archiving, space-saving archiving, we're going to cover a lot in great detail. Ransomware alert, well, you know the background there because of Anand's experience. Anomaly detection, and I'm going to show how we're the easiest SaaS to use in the industry. You're all M365 users. Quick survey. How many have E1, F1, or A1 licenses as part of your organization? So, all right. I believe that data should be protected just as efficiently as E5 and E7. Frontline workers like police officers, doctors, nurses in a hospital, that data is just as, if not more important than the CEO's data. That should be protected also, and CrashPlan enables that. And just some marketing, we are a preferred M365 solution. You've all heard of the shared responsibility model, all right? Microsoft's job is to keep M365 up 7 by 24 by 365. Authentication and security. It is written in the in the EULA you sign, backup and recovery, that's your responsibility. Period. All right? Resiliency, user access, that's your responsibility. How long you retain data. Microsoft recently, in about the past year, they've added M365 overage charges. People have used M365. Who here recalls the term BPOS? Right? It's been out for 20 years. People have been filling up SharePoint and OneDrive for years, decades. It got to the point where Microsoft had, there's some overage charge they had to pass on because of the exorbitant amount of data that's in M365. All right? So it's to the tune of $2,400 a terabyte per year. I don't know about you, but Laura's going to talk about trying to change your users' behavior to delete stuff. This ain't going to happen. So we'll talk about how to avoid that. All right? So when you do that, we don't want to change the user's day-to-day operation. And we're going to use very, very cost-efficient and secure Azure Block Storage, which Carl's going to talk a lot about shortly. Data's growing, as we all know. Here are the stats. Ransomware is not a case of if it happens, now it's a case of when you get hit. One thing people don't talk about the backup and recovery in our space, about 70% of the costs of a backup solution go directly to storage. So if you have ways of avoiding that, you can drop the cost down, and we're going to cover a lot of those topics as we succeed. Now, as you can tell, I do not build really good PowerPoint slides. I am not one of those folks. My builds are terrible, my fonts are terrible, no question. So I decided to take this straight off Microsoft's page. And by the way, you don't have to take pictures. I will send you the deck. I don't want the camera to keep going. I appreciate it. I take the but give me your email, I'll send you the deck. Even if you're a competitor, I'll send you the deck. All right. So on M365, this is Microsoft giving you the reasons why you should back it up now. Used to be a taboo topic for about 10 years. Over the past couple of years, Microsoft said, nope, there's enough stuff going on out there, user deletions, ransomware. Yes, you should take the responsibility of backing up M365. And Microsoft created this. Here's another one for you to take back. How many people here have heard of Microsoft Backup Storage for M365? About 10%. Yeah. So yes, we support it. It's built into our interface, and I can tell you all the pluses and minuses. We can cover that in more detail. All right. And again, I'm going to risk getting struck by lightning. Everything I talk about for M365 is ditto for G Suite. We're not going to cover that today because we do that at Google conferences. But covering M365 today. But Google's also telling you, yep, you should back that up too. So our components, pretty basic. We build, we optimize, we fine-tune, we run an Azure. Lets us do a lot of benefits. Scalability, consistency, security. All right, Carl's going to talk about that in a second. From a storage perspective, Azure's our preferred. In our cloud, that we'll provide the Azure storage for you. If you want to use your own Azure storage, knock yourself out, we support that. We've also got some patented capability around OneDrive, which we'll talk about. We can actually use the free OneDrive storage you already have as a storage target, maybe for some of your users. We also support outside like Wasabi, Backblaze, Azure. Anyone here know what Azure Local is or Azure Stack? Couple. All right, we support that too. It's easy for us. All right. So again, freedom of storage choice is a key component. I talk about scalability, consistency, security for Azure. Carl, why don't you cover a little bit about, how big can it get? We're a little tiny VM, but how big does it get? Give me some of that consistency around the world you guys offer.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the fantastic things that we've been able to build over the last 20 years is starting from providing scale for our own services like Xbox and M365, and then engaging with some of the largest customers in the world, huge retail outlets that we all use every day, a little AI company that you may leverage a chat app for. We've learned a lot, and we've grown with our customer base, both internal and external, over the last 20 years to provide scale in the exabyte form in a single account, what we refer to as a storage account, which is your repository that you can use to host data of all kinds. From a compute perspective, I mean, the ability to deploy 1,000 virtual machines plus in a scale set on demand, these are capabilities that have evolved, that have grown with our customer requirements. And that's what you have available and are able to leverage to protect your M365 data within the Microsoft Cloud, but within separate, discrete hardware stamps that give you that redundancy and resiliency that you need to know that you can recall, you can restore that item, you can restore that mailbox when needed.
So when I want to build a secure solution, we take care of multi-factor authentication, all that other stuff, but I don't want to go out and get 10, 20, 50, 100 certified logos. Carl, what's short list? What do you guys do? Who do you get certified by with Azure? I'd rather just take care of ride their coattail than have to go invent it myself.
Yeah, anything and everything, and that is a great aspect of platforming on us. You inherit what we have done with HIPAA, what we have done for PCI, what we've done with all the ISO certs. If there is a local, governmental regulation or standard that needs to be met, or an industry attestation, we've done that because we have to. We have customers across every industry, every country around the world. And that is a fantastic thing that you inherit when you platform on Azure.
Data sovereignty. For anybody multinational here, all right, Europe has GDPR. You have to protect data and keep it within the country. All right, I can go out and invent all of it. They have data centers all around the world. Matter of fact, one of their more secure ones I love to talk about is in Ireland. They have this factor in compute security. Their data center in Ireland is built surrounded by a moat. And if you have too heavy a vehicle that drives on the bridge on the moat falls down. You want to go visit the place, they don't tell you where it is. You actually meet at a restaurant, they pick you up and they take you there. They don't blindfold you, but their definitely security goes way beyond just ISO security. And it is pretty cool. So when we move data into Azure data centers, it is at an unbelievable level of security.
To be fair, we built it in an old castle. The moat just came with.
And it's kind of convenient if we get to protect and manage M365. It's not like it's on the other side of the world. You guys what percentage of the time is M365 in the same building as Azure?
As close to 100 as you can get. There's a whole lot of nines in there.
Yeah. So, why have extra cost and extra churn? And I'll show some demos at the end. I believe it's about time, and CrashPlan believes it's about time you did something with that backup data instead of just having it there for restore. So they've got a pretty cool, I call it tagging, which is the kindergarten term. We've got ways of making conversational AI enabled for the data that you have in your organization and use the backup data. And we'll show some of that at the end, but we're working very closely with Microsoft on that. And Carl's key, but Heck Prasad from Microsoft, our partner PDM, partner development managers here as well. You can get a lot of verification. Ask for. I'm going to throw the microphone back to Ernie a little bit as well. So our process, here's your environment. We use Azure to make the call. And remember, we built a modern solution. So we're going to do some pre-processing of your data, indexing, setting up for AI, do the malware scan. Recently, we talked about adding that AI capability to let you actually learn from your data. That's the key difference. Do the malware scanning, anomaly detection, and then we simply store it on the storage target or targets of your choice. From an archiving perspective, we talked about the costs. Same process, nothing new. It's one simple platform. But you can archive data, and we'll show some of the configuration screens on how old the data is, how large the data is. SharePoint, a OneDrive, you replace it with a pointer. You can get an HTML render preview to see the data. Your users have no change to their experience in accessing the data, even though we moved into less expensive Azure Blob. Exchange, the body remains, attachments are there. Your M365 overall size gets immediately reduced. Your cost savings is immediate. You can prevent, reduce, eliminate your overage charges. Now we use the target. With that, this was the teaser. Let's go to a real life example before we get to more of the technology. Pass the mic, pass the mouse over to Laura. Just use the left mouse button and we're all good to go. So Laura, give us a little experience about what you have learned in the past few months.
Sure. So Laura Fox, again from Indiana University. I am here to tell more of a story. So I would call this a comeback story. If I had to pick my favorite comeback story out of Indiana University right now, it would obviously be going from the losingest football program to national champions. We are in Florida, so maybe that's not the most popular story to tell. So how about I'll tell a different one. It's equally compelling around how we were facing some pretty significant overage charges for our Microsoft 365 storage, and we needed to figure out a solution. We were taking a very tactical approach, and we needed to find a more strategic way to address that. So this number, I assumed it would be looming in person because it's big font, but it's also a big number for us in higher ed. You constantly have constrained budgets. We've had budget cuts the past 2 years in IT. And so to have an unbudgeted $688,000 storage quota overage fee was not really something I wanted to take to my boss and explain. So you might be asking how I got here with this bill on my doorstep. And that would be because of the 15 glorious years of unlimited storage, thanks to Microsoft. So now when we renegotiated our contract in 2024, we were not able to get unlimited storage, which meant we started our new 5-year contract over quota. So you get so much per A5 license. We started in the hole, so we negotiated a year to figure it out, and that was the plan. Like, we have a year, I'm sure we can figure out what to do and not need to buy storage blocks in the future. It does have a happy ending, so just in case you were getting scared. Just to give you some stats about Indiana University, in case you're not a super fan like me, I wanted to give you some scale. I doubt you're in higher ed, so just to maybe level set a little for you at the level we're working at. So we have over 89,000 students. We have 7 campuses, 2 of which are R1 research institutions. We have over 44,500 faculty and staff, a fair amount of which are those researchers. We have the largest living alumni of any university. I can go anywhere and normally find an alum. I am an alum, of course. 805,000 of us strong. And in case you forgot, within the last 30 seconds, we have that one national football championship. Our Microsoft environment is probably more interesting to you. We have 37,000 A5 licenses assigned out to our staff and students. We have almost 5 petabytes of Microsoft 365 data, and you can see the problem here. We have not quite 4 of a quota, so we are, we were over quota. That's how we got here. So I'm sure this is a familiar story, and Randy kind of already alluded to this, that storage is not going down. So not only do we have a problem right now, we're anticipating that this is what the curve looks like. We have more data being created than ever. That's, I think, a logical result of digital innovation. Everything we do, we want to digitally innovate, right? Like, we're not starting anything saying, let's do it on paper, right? Everything is digitally native now, which means more storage. We have researchers that are out there that are able to produce more data than they have ever been able to produce. So they are, and they're doing it, right? Like, this is critical to their work. So we have a lot of research data. We have, just the administrative recordings, videos, and then obviously AI adding into that. Everyone wants to put documents into, online storage to be able to use AI against them, and then whatever's produced out of AI is also being put into your digital storage. So we just have, obviously, this curve is going to just keep growing. And Microsoft did not give us every year you're going to get a little more of a quota. So poor Carl is he's the target today. So what are we going to do? When we started this conversation, the easy answer would have been, well, I don't know if it's easy, but the least amount of work would have been to just pay the bill, or we were calling it the ransom for a while. So we looked at that 688,000 number, and could we come up with that? Yes. Could we make a business case that we needed to do it? But that's not what we necessarily wanted to do, right? We went into this 1 year of grace period, we have to figure this out. We've got to solve this problem. And then when we started doing trend analysis and we looked at where we would be in the subsequent years, it only got worse. So the idea of asking for $1 million for storage for a year, that's not going to go over well, right, with my CIO, especially knowing that, she knows that we went into that contract already over. So, that's like, I don't know, your kids saying like, well, I don't have enough money for that, but I'm sure I'll figure it out, and then they never do. And so try not to be that person. So we needed a new strategy. We started with, we weren't going to just pay for the storage. So what's the next logical step? You just ask your users to delete some stuff, right? I mean, I'm sure they just have like folders of cat memes and like videos of their kids that they can easily delete, and we'd be where we need to be. We did apply quotas, and I do quotas are a part of the solution. Like you have to have quotas, or we wouldn't be able to even use this solution effectively. So we started with quotas. We started with quotas with everyone that was over quota. It was fine. No one complained. But then we started doing quotas on people that were actually above quota or close to quota, and that's when we started being yelled at in multiple meetings and forums. Our users have a lot of PTSD around Box unlimited storage going away, Google unlimited storage going away. This was like the last unlimited storage that they had, and now we're saying that we're taking it away, and they're getting very nervous about what that means for their data, because their data is it's their livelihood, right? Like they've worked their whole lives to develop this research or these academic programs, and we have, I use over 200 years old. We have all kinds of administrative and historical documents. We have administrative data that's required to be kept based on federal guidelines and compliance. There's just, if you get a grant, you have to keep it for 10 years. There's just so many complex compliance requirements in there. It's really hard for us to know what would be okay to delete, let alone just the average user figuring that out. And frankly, the tools in Microsoft are not sufficient for data hygiene. Like they're not made to help people delete that data and to do good discovery. That's like such a gap. I could go on a whole tirade on data hygiene. So we also know that if we tell people to delete it and they don't want to delete it, they'll just stick it somewhere else. So are we just moving this data to a solution that we don't know about? Are they putting it on thumb drives? Are they like buying a NAS? I mean, like we've got all kinds of creative solutions that would happen. And we would have that data sprawl, which is obviously not what we were looking for. So we needed another new strategy. Maybe we'll get the right one this time. So we decided we really need to rethink the approach. And we went to Microsoft, our reps, and said, okay, we tried quotas, we've tried asking people to delete stuff, we're still screwed. We're still gonna have to buy storage from you. Do you have any recommendations? And they did. It was great. We had some newer reps. They were much more partner driven and were interested in helping us find a solution so that we didn't have to pay their storage bill. And they recommended that we listen to CrashPlan's business case and see if that fit. And we thought whether or not it would work with our problem. When we talked to them, we're like, okay, if Microsoft is telling us don't buy more storage from us, pay these people, we're like, that must be the right answer. So we have decided that the solution is policy-driven archiving of our M365 data with CrashPlan. So I will talk to you a little bit about what that journey has looked like. We are an academic institution, and so we like to do things in a very academic way. So the first thing that I had to do was write a business case. I have to justify to leadership not only the spend for CrashPlan, but just the change in strategy I needed to really document for historical reasons as to why we moved away from quotas, why just asking people to delete wouldn't work. You guys might not have those kind of requirements, but we do. We're very academic, I guess. So we built the business case. It was great. ChatGPT helped me. Kyle helped me. We worked with our partners. We wrapped it up, and we got that approved. So we also like to do things slow. So we wanted to do a proof of concept because while we've seen this in a demo, it's very different to then see it with your own data. So we asked CrashPlan if they would let us do a limited engagement, archive so much of our data, let some of our users, our endpoint support people who would have to help these people that might need to use the product in the future, we could get them in there seeing it. And my Microsoft administrators are like the most uptight people, and they do not want anyone touching anything. So getting them to be comfortable with this solution was also really critical. And that proof of concept allowed us to make sure that like the Entra ID integration worked, and CrashPlan has a very deep knowledge of Microsoft and helped us make sure that that would work in our environment. So then we decided to do it. We pulled the trigger. We have now started, we are archiving our data. We're looking at, we have a plan for the policies, and we're implementing that to make sure that we can get below that number that we need to for our storage quotas by the deadline. We are making sure that as we work through this, Randy kind of described this earlier, but it was super critical to us. We've already, our users are already mad at us. This solution needs to be really seamless to those users. So how can we, make sure that they just see that stubbed out file and they click on it and they don't even know that this is being pulled back from cold storage. So that was super critical, and that's obviously, we've been able to accomplish that through the CrashPlan product. The final phase, which will likely go on forever, this is a SaaS product, right? So we'll continually be taking updates. We're very excited about a lot of the things that are on the roadmap. Again, I would love to see more things around data hygiene and tooling to be able to surface things for users, because we know there's data that needs to go, but it's just so hard to locate it. We know that there's a lot of really cool AI discovery stuff that's coming, and we're interested in that. And then we don't really know what the future will hold with how much data our users will put in there. So while the policies that we have now will work, we anticipate we'll need to, flex those policies, change them, see what, continue to optimize them, and possibly, I think we want to expand usage to more users than what we're starting with. When we do that, then we would be able to, just ensure that we're doing what we need to do to stay under that number. These are just some highlights to make sure if you missed it and you weren't sure if policy-driven archiving was for you. If you have a storage overage, I would say it probably is for you. It makes it transparent. And as you can see, we did, by avoiding that $688,000 bill and investing in CrashPlan, we saw 110% ROI, and we've avoided those future costs, which those numbers were even scarier. We have 2.8 petabytes of data being managed, and 2 of it archived to get us below our quota. And the beauty of it is that we don't have to do anything. We don't have administrators, pushing buttons locally. The end users don't have to do anything to make this happen. It's all just happening behind the scenes, auto-magically. If you're like, okay, policy-driven archiving makes sense, but why CrashPlan? I put the highlight reel here as to why. Users are automatically kept under quota, direct access to your files. You have that stubbed out link. You don't have to worry about going somewhere else to recover your files. IT doesn't have to get a request to recover a file. It keeps your data secure and compliant. You all said a bunch of letters and numbers earlier. I'm sure you guys know what those mean. Integrated identity and access management, the Entra ID, just that seamless integration with Microsoft was critical. And then the sleeper hit, the bonus that we didn't know was going to be something that came out of this is the backup that Randy was talking about. So we now have this data backed up, and we did not have a backup solution before. So that makes us obviously protected now from ransomware, accidental deletion, data corruption, Microsoft falling over, whatever it might be. So that was something that was on our wish list, but we had never been able to get funding for. So that was also built into that business case that we gave to leadership. So again, I want you all to learn something because I work at a university. So my lessons learned would be, don't just buy more storage. I think we can all agree, while that might buy you a year to maybe find a way out of it, it's not like a long-term solution. You really need to have a strategy. Don't put the burden on users. I might be currently over quota in my OneDrive. So as someone, I would just say, that's not how I want to work, right? I really did try to go through my files, but you guys make it really hard to get the crap out of there. So it's hard. And as an end user, that experience will just, result in those other things. They won't, even I won't just sit there and keep trying. So, you need to make it easy and seamless for them, if at all possible. Lean on your vendors. We went to Microsoft and said we need help, and they helped us. They know their ecosystem better than anyone, so we felt really good that they were willing to put this vendor forward, that they must partner well with them and have confidence that they would not let them down. And frame it as a strategic investment. Again, we built that business case. You've heard my business case today. I think you could probably build the same one for your organization around why storage is going up, quotas aren't going up, how are we going to solve this without having a big impact to our users? So I would encourage you to do that. And just like in football, sometimes you just have to throw out the rule, like the old playbook, and just start fresh, which is what we did. That's my LinkedIn.
I think some of the scouting videos for the football team took up some of that storage space as well.
Trust me, athletics has got their own. We take care of athletics, yeah.
All right, so continue. Now, all that, but wait, there's more. So let's talk about our ecosystem, who we work with. Unabashedly, I'm going to say Microsoft is our foundation for here. We exclusively run in Azure. We got some other storage partners, good partners, but most of you walked in here today and said, hearing about CrashPlan for the first time this week, hearing about CrashPlan for the first time as soon as I sat down. Well, let's give you a little bit more background and some comparison. Who here has heard of Gartner or Forrester? All right. My compliments to both Gartner and Forrester. They got a good thing going, and I have worked at a company for 2 decades plus, and I talk to Gartner every year and help that company matriculate up the quadrant. You eat Gartner food, you speak Gartnerese, you talk to one person, and that's how Gartner and that's how Forrester works. Of course, but there are other ways of doing comparisons in the industry. One of the other ones is an independent leading analyst firm called G2. And they compared CrashPlan to 170 other online backup pods. I gotta be honest, I honed it myself, and heck, we didn't know there were 170 different online backup pods. I probably heard about 80 of them, but not 170. We did pretty well. But you can't game the system here by talking to one person. And I'm going to ride a lot of Carl's scalability and security benefits here to get our numbers up. So when you compare us against the name brands you may have heard of, we won overall. We also won in every single of the 24 categories against every other vendor out there. Now, again, go back to our frame in the beginning. We built a more modern, lightweight SaaS solution. We learned from all the, I'll send you the slides, don't worry. We learned from all the pitfalls and challenges, which is why I'm really proud of the ease of use, the ease of setup, the freedom of storage choices. All right, a larger list, and the key here is that the way G2 does it, they exclusively use customer feedback. You can't game the system. You have to be a verified administrator. If you compare us against a whole bunch more folks, again, you can't find a vendor that we are in second place out of the 170 in any category. We're pretty proud of that. Now we're not resting on our laurels. We got a lot more to build, no question. Now I want to talk a little about Azure and throw it back to Carl a little bit. We make it turnkey, we make it simple, but I'm not smart enough to say what storing in a different security domain means. So you want to help me because I'm kind of dumb on this. So what does it mean when I move it from M365 to Azure?
Yeah, I mean, we've all got concerns, myself included, about ransomware and whether that results in deletion or corruption / overwrite of your data. One of the things that you want to do is get your critical data outside of the reach of those network-aware malicious software packages. And that's what we do here. We create an air-gapped copy that sits in CrashPlan's tenant that is also under the I was going to say control, but that's not right. Under the protection of, let's say that, protection of our immutable storage technology. So one of the most important things you can do when somebody is trying to overwrite your data and corrupt it is make it so it can't be written to. So those backups, once they're written, are unalterable for the period of time that CrashPlan sets to protect them. So we have multiple copies, we have an isolated copy, and we have a copy that cannot be overwritten or deleted until that retention period expires. Really, that is how you end up with an air gap, a true air gap solution.
Sure. And if you're following a practice of 3-2-1 storage, this easily sets that up with that. We're going to talk about the multiple copies they make on their own that we just take advantage of shortly. If you want geo-replication, lots of crazy things going on in the world, lots of crazy weather events recently. All right. If you want your data stored in another region of the country or another continent, we're just going to use their plumbing to do it. They make it very simple. We'll have a slide on that shortly. We default to cool storage. Works well for what we're doing. You want hot? You want we support it. All right. GDPR check. You want immutable storage? You want to talk about legal hold? Simple checkbox for us to enable that to occur. All right. Now, again, I'm not smart here, Carl. I know when I send the data to Azure, it makes 3 copies in the data center. Already, you guys take advantage. So if the primary one goes away, we just communicate with them and they say, you got to use the second one. What is this other stuff?
Yeah, so I can tell you right now, Randy's not giving himself enough credit here. This is a total sandbag, but yeah, the bare minimum we do is 3 copies of your data within a single data center. That is what we refer to as locally redundant storage. That redundancy only increases as we go from left to right on that chart up there. Zone redundant means you get those 3 copies over 3 discrete data centers within synchronous replication distance. So you get those 3 copies, you don't have a delay when you're writing your backups. It is at native speed there. GRS takes it that step further, and then the RAs are variants of those where there's a read accessible copy at that within that area of protection. GRS gives you 6 copies of your data, 3 in the primary data center, 3 in the secondary data center that we replicate it to automatically. So I'm a big believer in belt and suspenders model. I was a backup administrator. I was a SAN administrator. You want copies of copies of copies. And that is what we do and maintain for you. Write it once with CrashPlan. We protect it on the back end up to that level of protection that you need to feel safe and secure about having that -1 offsite copy stored in Azure.
We're lucky to work with Carl because he keeps me smart, keeps educating me, but he sells himself short because he only gets to work with the biggest and the best of the solutions out there. So to get up to Carl's level, you got to pass a whole bunch of tests in the lab around. So we're kind of lucky to do that. Same from the hack too. So we're kind of lucky that we're managed in that way. We pass those education benefits on to you. Now remember early on I said free storage? All right. Question. If you're a OneDrive user, how much storage do you get to consume? 1 terabyte. Terabyte. If you got 1,000 users, that's a petabyte.
It's not enough.
For a large enterprise like IU, no. But for some other organizations with, shudder to think 500, 1,000 people, maybe it does make sense. All right, so we can use that as a storage option as well for maybe some of your less intensive users who are not like Laura, who just casually coming in, casually coming out, storing data. Maybe only storing the vacation photos, not the vacation videos off the ride to Universal or Disney. So maybe that's possible. So that's an option too. All right, it's seamless and secure, only 1 copy. Now, I'll give one case study example, another one. Shows the scale and freedom of storage from an Azure perspective. Little tiny hotel chain you may have stayed at, 5 letters, begins with H and ends with T. I'm sure you can figure out who it is. Came to us, came to Microsoft and said, hey, I need a corporate standard. I got 4 of those other products that I have and they weren't happy with any one of them. What do we do? And we said, all right, we got to go through a 3-month proof of concept just to get the security testing done. And they said, okay, we're going to start your POC. Now, I like to go down to IU and just do it there because it's kind of local. We can jump on a plane if we need to, and so we can do it all remote, and that made it simple. What did Hyatt have us do? Where did they have us do the first 6 POCs? China. Okay. Luckily, the infrastructure that Carl built enables us to install in China just as we're installing in US East 1 or US East 2. No difference. All right, we didn't transact through the marketplace, so you didn't get that one solved yet. That's a whole different can of worms. But so we installed there, passed. We then became highest corporate standard worldwide. By the way, before us, if they lost their server in their machine, in their hotel, you weren't going to get a bill. So now they have some data resilience. Now, I'd like to do a couple demos, but let's go up to AI. There are a number of vendors, including some of them on the floor, that are touting integration with AI. And when you peel back the onion, What they're saying is they're using AI to make their product easier to use. And if you're touting using AI to make your product easier to use, my guess is it probably wasn't that easy to use to begin with. We do that too, but I'm not going to brag about it. I will brag about how we can enable some conversational AI. And like I said, it's about time not only data was kept safe, but it became useful. So let's do a few demos here, if we can. So I'll come to our interface. So let's take a look at browsing and recovering real quick. Want to manage assets, and I have to log out, log in again because they're timed out.
That's how you know it's a live demo. Bold move.
Live demo, and I'm using, this is, by the way, this is my connection. I'm not trusting the hotel network. I'm using my MiFi in my phone, so it's not going to be fast. So let's say I want to manage, SharePoint. All right? And we've got lots and lots and lots of sites. Now, this could be self-service, users recovering their own data, or users recovering, or an administrator recovering their data. We got a product management and product marketing site with good amount of data, right? Scroll down, product specialists, more folders, shared docs, closing the gap, right click. Do I want to download it? Or maybe I'm in a hotel and I need access to it, or I want to view it, see the different versions. We're all version aware with SharePoint. Or I want to restore it back in place. I'm just going to download it right to my local device. All right? So we make the request to the Azure data center, which is US East 2 right now. By the way, I've been pontificating here and talking. It's already been recovered. Done. End of story. So we are pretty proud of the ease of use. Same capability for Exchange. I'll browse through that real quick. Manage assets on Exchange. I'll pick on Anand. He's up, and here's all his folder structure and all of his messages. And I can simply right-click, recover, continue, period. Now, from a policy management perspective, same for OneDrive, same for endpoints. But from a policy management perspective on SharePoint, for example, let's say I want to create a new policy. And we'll call it Carl 1 for now. We'll Carl 1. How many versions do I want to keep? I want to make it unlimited. Unlimited amount of size. No limit at all here. Now, remember we talked about how difficult it could be to archive? All right, we built it right into our interface where we simply say, yeah, I want to archive data. And when I get to 80%, 90% of my quota, begin to initiate archive. And or how old is the data? And or how large is the data? Very, very simple. There's other ways you can do it too, but this makes the archive enablement pretty easy. All right. You could dictate whether users actually know their data is being backed up. Let's say IU has a set of endpoints or laptops they give out to the students, but they don't want the students knowing that data is backed up. Okay, so we just protect it. And I'll briefly go into the conversational AI piece, which Laura, we're lucky to have Laura, Indiana Microsoft, part of our steering committee. So if you're interested, we'd love to get some of your guidance on it too. But let's ask the big bad World Wide Web. I can do marketing stuff, just do it quickly. But let's say, did Randy play baseball? Now, some information from the big bad World Wide Web came back, and some of it is accurate and some of it is not. But let's do something a little different. We'll go back into our interface and open up the AI tab. And this is the thing we did in lockstep with Carl and Mehek to significantly reduce the size of the vector database. Now, we're not going to do that conversation. Carl's going to play that a lot better than I can, but this now can make it cost effective. And let's ask it the same question. So it's pulling information that's only connected to me and with the, we're backing up from CrashPlan. So it's going to pull from a different set of information. Now, I believe, and most people believe, data you own, data within your own organization, data within F365 is much more reliable, much more accurate, much more relevant than just what you may find on the World Wide Web. So interesting. So, all right, I'm going to start asking some specific information. What's the batting average? Imagine this for forecasting business. Imagine this for legal protection. Imagine this in a law enforcement situation. We may have to go point in time. All right, so we continue and say, were his teams any good?
I'm very curious what data is being backed up that has all of your personal information.
Well, actually, some of the background does connect to LinkedIn and so forth. And we'll actually here, Laura asked a good question. What are we doing? We'll actually show you the sources.
I think you just send emails to yourself talking about how cool it was when you played baseball. That's just looking at your exchange.
Back in the day.
Information that was found on newspaper articles and such. But the key is, imagine what you can do, not bothering your production environment, and start to query and get information back from your own environment. Again, I strongly believe the data you have in M365 and G Suite is much more accurate than what you can find on the web. Now, you can add social media feeds and newsfeeds, but when you start bringing in the data that your own employees, your own students have, medical research, candy stores open for how you can use the data you're protecting. So with that, well, just about, I'd like to do more demos. We have the booth, stop by. Any questions, we'll hand the microphone out. So questions for any of us here? Good.
When you restore a file back into your environment, how long before it gets picked up by the policy again? I guess it's at 1 year or whatever you said in there. How do you control it so it doesn't get put back in the archive next week?
Yeah, the clock would start when it was recovered. From an archiving perspective, yeah. So the clock would start. We could get into some detail on modified time and, update time and so forth, but basically the clock would start on it again. Good question. Other questions? Good.
I mean, this was along like Google earlier, pricing them all almost like per user for some cases.
Okay.
If you have a user backed up over the course of a year or something like that, and then they become an inactive user, what happens to that?
All right, I'm going to defer to Mr. Gallo in the back who runs sales, because the question is, am I going to get burned for a license of somebody who left the organization a year or two ago?
And the answer is no, you're not going to get burned. And the bottom line is we would just allocate that user's data to someone else's too. That's still theirs. You choose where you want it.
Roger that. Thank you. Great question. Other questions?
You projected really well. We didn't need the microphone there. That was
Former Marine.
natural.
There you go.
One other question. You mentioned in the very beginning, we can back up to our Azure or yours, or
Yes.
Either or place. Does that imply that if we ask to back up to yours, that I would need an Azure conscription?
No, you would not know. We'll take care of all the Azure configurations, setting up all the billing. We take care of it. We just send you. You give us some configuration who you want backed up, and what do you want us to move. Everything else, other than the invoice, we take care of behind the scenes for you. We make it as self-turnkey as we possibly can. So the things we've learned over here.
And that's really what we've seen, because as Randy mentioned earlier, I support the partner ecosystem, our strategic partner ecosystem within the Azure storage engineering team. That is what we are seeing as the most popular model now and the fastest growing category of services. It's a partner in your business. It's somebody there to help from a security standpoint, recovery standpoint, and makes all the difference in the world.